quiet town of Hollow Creek, autumn nights crept in early, wrapping the streets in shadows and whispers. The townsfolk had heard the stories about the man in the mask who lurked in the dark, waiting for his chance to slip into homes and invade their dreams with terror. Most dismissed it as urban legend, a tale to scare children into staying inside after dusk. But Sarah, a single mother of two, couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. One crisp evening, while tucking her children into bed, Sarah noticed a flicker of movement outside her window. She brushed it off, convincing herself it was just the wind rustling the branches. But as she settled into her own bed, sleep eluded her. The air felt thick, as if the house itself held its breath. Hours passed, and the quiet of the night was shattered by a loud crash from downstairs. Heart racing, she crept out of bed and made her way to the living room, clutching a flashlight. Shadows danced on the walls, stretching like fingers toward her. She stopped short at the sight of the front door, swinging open and closed, creaking on its hinges as if beckoning her to step outside. "Hello," she called out, voice trembling. No response came, but the chilling wind that whispered through the opening. As she approached, the beam of her flashlight caught something. A dark figure stood just outside, face obscured by a grotesque mask, eyes gleaming like polished stones. Panic surged, and she stumbled back, but the figure moved with a speed that made her heart stop. Suddenly, a child's voice called from upstairs. "Mommy?" It was Lily, her youngest, who had stirred from sleep. Sarah felt a wave of dread wash over her as she realized the intruder could be headed for her children. She dashed back upstairs, praying she would reach them in time. As she reached the hallway, she heard a slow, deliberate footfall behind her, the sound echoing in the stillness. She turned, pointing the flashlight behind her, but the corridor was empty. "Lily! Ethan!" she shouted, pushing open their bedroom door. They were awake, fear etched on their faces. She hurried to them, pulling them close. "Stay quiet," she whispered urgently. "Lock the door." As she secured the door, a muffled sound echoed from downstairs, a low chuckle, sinister and chilling. Sarah's heart raced as she felt the walls close in around her. The intruder had entered her home. They huddled together in the dark, the shadows growing longer as the figure's footsteps climbed the stairs, each step a heartbeat of dread. Sarah's mind raced with thoughts of escape. She remembered the attic, the only place they might be safe. "Come on," she said, urging the kids to follow her. They climbed the narrow staircase, adrenaline coursing through them. At the top, she pushed the attic door open, revealing a dim, dusty space filled with old boxes and forgotten memories. Once inside, she closed the door behind them, her hands shaking as she fumbled to lock it. The faint sound of footsteps paused just outside the attic, and a cold sweat dripped down her back. "Mommy, I'm scared," Ethan whispered, his voice barely above a whisper. "I know, sweetheart. Just stay close," she replied, heart racing. The footsteps returned, now more deliberate, as if the intruder was savoring their fear. Sarah's breath quickened as she strained to listen. The door rattled, a low voice whispering through the cracks, "I know you're up there." A shiver ran down her spine. He was toying with them, enjoying the hunt. In that moment, she remembered the old box in the corner, the one filled with her late father's tools. She rummaged through it, fingers trembling, until she found a heavy, rusted hammer. As the rattling grew more frantic, she made a decision. If they were to escape, they would need to confront this nightmare. She turned to her children, steel in her voice. "When I open the door, I want you both to run as fast as you can to the back door. Don't look back, no matter what." "Mommy," Lily began, tears glistening in her eyes. "Now," Sarah said firmly, her heart pounding in her chest. Taking a deep breath, she slowly turned the knob, the door creaking open just enough to peek through. The figure was gone, but the darkness felt alive, heavy with threat. "Go," she hissed, shoving her children ahead of her. They darted out into the hallway, and Sarah gripped the hammer tightly, ready to face whatever lurked in the shadows. But as she stepped out, the hallway was empty, and for a fleeting moment, she felt hope. But then she heard a low, mocking laughter echoing from below, sending chills through her body. "Did you really think you could hide?" the voice taunted, sending a jolt of fear through her. Before she could react, the figure lunged from the shadows, mask glinting in the dim light. She swung the hammer with all her might, but it passed through the air, her strike missing its mark. The intruder sidestepped, and she felt a cold grip around her wrist, squeezing tight. In that moment of desperation, the realization hit her: the intruder was not just a man, he was the embodiment of her darkest fears, the shadows that whispered doubts into her heart. With a surge of determination, she twisted free, her voice breaking the silence. "You don't own me," she shouted, her words echoing through the hallway. The laughter faltered, and in that split second, Sarah seized her chance. She swung again, this time connecting with the intruder's masked face. The figure staggered back, and she didn't wait to see if he would recover. She raced down the hall, grabbing her children and bursting through the back door. The night air hit them like a wave, refreshing and alive. They ran into the forest, the moonlight guiding their way, leaving the shadows of the house and the intruder behind. They reached the edge of the town, breathless and terrified, but free. As Sarah looked back, the house loomed in the distance, a dark silhouette against the sky. She knew the intruder would always be a part of her, lurking in the corners of her mind, but she had faced him tonight and escaped. In Hollow Creek, the stories would continue, but now, Sarah had her own tale, a tale of courage against the mask intruder, a testament that fear could be confronted, and darkness could be banished, even if only for a night.